want to even leave your bed after the death of a loved one, but I got out there nonetheless. Let me just say, the place was absolutely decrepit. I knew it had been a while since my dad had gone hunting, but this place looked like it hadn't been touched in years. It was completely desolate, and vegetation had covered the entire front side of the cabin. The boards at the back looked like they were set to collapse at any given moment. A rickety porch swing lay on the front porch, suspended on the one side by the chain that hadn't snapped yet. Pushing the door open, what hit me first was the smell. That sickly sweet smell of death that you'd find radiating off a decaying deer carcass on the side of the road. It ran through the front door and sucker punched me in the face, completely unexpectedly. Covering 90% of my face with my shirt, the next thing I noticed that knocked the wind out of me were the toys. Dozens of toys that were very clearly made for little boys, no older than the toddler age. So this is where Dad brought you, I thought aloud as I noticed one of my favorite teddy bears from when I was a kid. I searched for you for months, little Huckleberry. What I noticed next is what made me realize that something was incredibly wrong. Aside from my little Huckleberry, I didn't recognize any of these toys. I have a pretty strong memory. I think I'd remember at least some of this stuff, but no. I didn't recognize the clothes either. None of these 10 or so outfits that, by this point, have been tattered and weathered to shreds. They all just lay randomly sprawled across the floor of the cabin, covered in dirt and grime. As I explored further into the cabin, the smell of rot became more and more present until finally, I found its source. In a huge pile in the corner of the kitchen area were dozens of rodent carcasses. Possums, squirrels, raccoons, they all looked like they had been completely mutilated. I stared at the disgusting pile until something hit me like a freight train. The possum was at the very top of this pile. It looked fresh. Blood still trickled from what looked like a big bite mark on its neck, and its feet twitched. All at once, the smell and blood became too much, and I began to get dizzy. I leaned over into the sink and started puking my guts up, shivering from the force. In between my heaves, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched.